the premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes, live right here on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It is Tony's Takes, and of course, I'm not alone in the studio. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Jimmy D. Happy Saturday, Jim.
Happy Saturday, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we had to change the show up a little bit, but Saturday shows are not foreign to Tony's Takes, that's for sure. We've done plenty of them, and this is kind of like us winging it a little bit on this episode, which is fine. That usually is where the fun conversation comes from. Me and Jim have a vague idea of what we're going to talk about, and that's kind of how the show always is, but we're not going to be talking cold, hard facts in the sense that sometimes we get bogged down in the statistics, Jim, and it doesn't lead to good viewing from a... Like, you know, there's a reason why people love Barstool, right? In Barstool, they don't talk about numbers at all. It's literally just personality driven.
Sure. So let's bring the personality today. That's what Tony's saying.
That's why Jim's sitting in the Pabst Blue Ribbon rocking chair.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of the personality I guess we have now. Jim, I don't know if you want to start with any specific topic, but I think some of the topics we are going to cover, or ones that I have in my head for today, include, you know, there's an issue with the 76ers in the sense that they are falling apart. I feel like they're just like the Knicks, right? Like the Knicks are a team that was really good last year. Now they're falling apart. The Sixers are falling apart for different reasons, but it's happening. And the Damian Lillard talk is so, I don't know, like overdone. Like it's just not an option. Why do we keep talking about it? And I feel like everyone keeps bringing it up, and we can talk about that. I'm sure you've got some thoughts on that. We've got St. Joe's game today. Big win against Temple. We never got your thoughts on that. I'm sure you'll want to share how you felt. I don't think we're going to get our U Sciences update today. No,
you
maybe
we'll get a U Sciences update. Last time I checked, they were winless, and that was 2 weeks ago on the December 2nd show. So, yeah, we have to do a quick little check in on U Sciences. I promise I'll provide that update today.
And the fans are dying for it. They need to know.
They're craving it. They crave the U Sciences update.
I'm sure your brother's excited about Drexel. They're holding fast. They're doing well. Maybe we'll have to have him call in next week for a Drexel update.
Sure. Shout out to him. He just had his 21st birthday.
Whoa.
Affection night, 21.
Where'd he go?
We were down at the Borgata last night.
Whoa, Jim, you look a little tired.
A little tired, but I'm here.
Is he awake, or is he?
He's probably still asleep.
Or is he still up? Just stayed up all night.
He was. I think he was pretty. He was pretty tired by the time I left. So.
What was his drink of choice?
When I left, it was the cranberry vodka.
It was that part of the night. He was drinking the cranberry vodka.
It was the part of the night where he told me he doesn't care how fruity it is. It's pretty good.
You should care because you're going to wake up with a big headache. I can guarantee you that the fruitier the drink, the worse the headache is going to be. That is a Tony guarantee. That's funny, though. Good for him. I didn't know it was his birthday. It's lining up just in time for Christmas. Christmas is going to be a good time for him.
Oh yeah,
with the Daniels
he doubles
family.
Up on the presents, you know.
Oh yeah,
birthday and Christmas.
Now you can give him like liquor as a gift. You know, that's like that's a go-to if you don't know what to get for someone. You know, like, oh, here's a bottle of wine. Yeah, it doesn't have to be liquor. I'm saying you could get him a case of Budweiser and it'd probably like be okay. You know,
sure.
So good for him. We've just got sidetracked. So, talking Eagles, talking Sixers, talking St. Joe's. I don't think there's any Phillies updates. We have the lockout, you know.
Yep,
so we're kind of dead in the water on the Phillies, which is unfortunate. That's usually the most passionate we get. Flyers. I don't think I've got a Flyers update for you. We've got a Formula One update from Tony. We picked the championship happened, so we'll talk a little Formula One. And I think that does it. There's no other popular sports that we're missing. We've talked about you talk about Urban Meyer too.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about Urban Meyer.
Well, there's a lot around the NFL that I think
we could just chime in on.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to hop into anything particular?
Let's start off with... I I don't know. You texted me saying that Sixers were top of mind for you.
Yeah, so the Sixers...
So let's go with Sixers.
I think they're just the top of mind, just a like pure frustration about what's been going on with this team, right? So I think a lot of us in the Philadelphia area just think, we have Embiid, so that means wins, and it's just proving that that's not true. Embiid, obviously, with him missing time, earlier with the COVID scare, I guess, Embiid was out for COVID protocol or whatever, but he also was out extendedly for his knee injury. So there's some things about Embiid that we all knew. We all knew that he, is injury prone, and we have to worry about him in the long term, about missing games and what's going to happen to the team, what the team looks like without him. And the NBA regular season is good for us in the sense that you can beat really good teams even without your star player every once in a while. You can still hold the fort down. We did go on sort of a losing streak without Embiid, but the way that this team is now that Embiid is sort of back and Tobias Harris is back and Danny Green is back, and you're starting to see this has been enough time since they've had the COVID protocols and the injury, the injury subsiding and everything.
Right.
We should be able to see them back in sort of their mid-season basketball shape. But it's not turning out that way. Tobias Harris is obviously not the player that we should have signed to a max deal 3 years ago. I believe it was 3 years ago.
Yep.
And then, Danny Green is just an older player now. I think last year was the best year that we were going to get out of him. I said the start of the year last year, what did I say? I said I was not a big fan of Danny Green. I thought he was old, and I thought it wasn't going to work out. I was wrong last year. He turned out to be a really good player. They went on, a pretty good run into the playoffs, and it just didn't happen. But now it's starting to manifest that Danny Green's not the guy, Tobias Harris is not the guy, and Ben Simmons is certainly not playing. He hasn't been on the court.
He's not playing.
So there's three guys basically that are starters that really aren't performing to what they should be doing.
Yeah, and I mean, look at these standings. It's wild. Brooklyn first, Chicago second, Milwaukee third. Milwaukee's going to be third because championship hangover. It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Cleveland fourth. Miami fifth. Miami had a down year last year, bouncing back a little bit. Okay, that's not too crazy. Charlotte, which they were a decent team last year. Washington, who gets better when they get rid of Russell Westbrook.
Well,
should have been a hint to the Lakers because they're struggling too.
Sure.
And then Philly's at eighth. But we're ahead of Atlanta, which went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Right.
And we're ahead of Boston, which is another team that's falling apart.
So this result right now of where we're at, this shows me that last year was certainly the year.
Yeah, we didn't capitalize on it.
It is going to go down as the year that we didn't
was
capitalize.
Jimmy Butler the year? Was the Jimmy Butler year the year? I think they're both the years. I think we both... It is possible. It's not crazy to say that both were opportunities that we threw away.
I'll tell you what, if you found a way to keep Jimmy Butler, then you don't lose to the Atlanta Hawks last year.
Yeah, and I guess my point with all of that is saying we had that one shot. Mm-hmm. Kawhi makes the incredible play. Season's over.
So be it.
We retool. We have one losing year. Happens. We retool. Team's really good. That's our second shot with the retool. We move some pieces around. Now we're bad again. Is this just another bad year before it gets better? Is that just a part of the problem or process of how you have to retool? It can't just be every year you're number one. You have to kind of circle players out sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. But I'll tell you what.
But the problem is we're not circling anyone out.
And I was listening to local radio earlier this week, and I heard a great point with both of our top picks, or first overall picks, 2016, 2017, have contributed 0 to us this year. And it just makes you think, was this all worth it? Everything that we went through. And I think here's the problem with the process is that the person that wanted to go through it didn't get to see it through, didn't get to make the decisions with the stockpile of value that we had.
Right. That was always the problem.
So now
it's that you can't do it without complete one mind, like hive mind. Like it can't just be different people coming in.
Right.
Like this is very delicate. You got to execute exactly how you want. And if you bring anyone in like Colangelo, who's bad at drafting, a bad decision maker, because that's who's drafted those players with those picks.
Yep.
Look what happens. Elton Brand has actually been able to pick talent.
Sure. Like
Tybal, like Maxey, like all these guys have come out and they've Furkan Korkmaz.
Yeah.
Like they have developed into decent players for where they were picked.
But the wasted picks on like Nerlens and Jaleel and yeah. And
well, the Nerlens and Nerlens was not a problem. That was just who fell to you in that draft. But like the Jaleel, like picking two centers,
right?
Very questionable. Like just trade down then at that point.
And even picking Embiid wasn't a guarantee. Yeah. I mean, we're lucky for what we've gotten out of Embiid, but it just wasn't. He wasn't supposed to be like this.
He was a player who got injured all the time
right.
in college at Kansas and barely played, and we got lucky. No, that's true. We did get lucky. I feel like the NBA, man, it's like no one's watching it. I just have this feeling that like no one's really talking about it. No one's really watching it.
I feel like it's been down this year.
The only people talking about it are ESPN because they're forcing the conversation because like they broadcast it. So like they're going to force that conversation on their radio waves because they sponsor it pretty much. The only thing worth noting in my mind has been the Steph Curry.
Right. Yeah, that was
really awesome.
Great. Another thing that I noticed is so Miami, they lose Jimmy Butler and Bam, right? Mm-hmm. And their entire offense has changed. They've just been chucking up threes like crazy, but they've been hitting like 41% as a team. I mean, they've been shooting, I think, like 44 threes a game or something. So
yeah.
They've lost two of their best players in the starting five, and they were able to find a way to adjust.
That's just good coaching.
It's not that far away from us for us to like continue to play good basketball and win games. But like you said, it's good coaching.
Well, Spoelstra's the best.
And there's nothing that Doc can do to make this team better right now. I think part of it is he's limited on talent.
Yeah.
He's limited on young guys. I mean, Matisse has zero offensive value at all right now.
Of course.
He's regressed since his first year.
Yeah.
I don't see him shooting. I mean, he had 0 points the other night.
You can't rely on him for points. And that's the other thing about
But he's not Dennis Rodman. He is a very good defensive player, but he's not going to be bodying people for rebounds and fighting, to claw his way for
He's
something.
just good at swiping at the ball when people drive against him.
Excellent defender. I'm not knocking that. But.
I guess my thing is right, you mentioned Dennis Rodman. He's providing something that's might not be scoring on offense, but it's a different offensive value that gets looks for his teammates who can execute and score on that end. Right. Matisse is just all one-sided on the other end of the ball. He's not big enough to out-rebound other players. Like,
right.
He guards the three most nights. So
and where Rodman would go against somebody's five.
Or power four, yeah. Yep.
And try and go get the board.
Another thing I'm going to mention is, Maxey's production is very interesting. And the other thing about Ben Simmons, right? The whole issue with the Ben Simmons thing is he's sitting out. It's not like we have another player to take that roster spot, right? When he sits out, he's not on the roster. We're one man down every night because of it, and that's the problem.
Sure,
that's the real problem of the situation. It's why it's more beneficial just to trade him and get something back in return and just work towards fixing it. The longer we wait here, the more time we're wasting. And that's kind of the problem.
Yeah, it needs to happen. They need to move Ben Simmons. As much as I love the idea, and I know you like it too, of him just sitting and losing 4 years.
Yeah.
If we care about this team playing well this year, then we need to move him.
And look at the Wizards. It's like addition by subtraction. At some point, it just becomes that. Just not even having him in the locker room. It's a distraction. Guys aren't focused. And it just adds to it.
Even Embiid looked the other night just looked not aggressive.
Lethargic.
Yeah, lethargic. He had a malaise about him.
I like the way how you said that. Malaise. Let's just talk Maxey box score real quick, though. 17 points. That's pretty good. 50% from two. I like that. 37% from three. I mean, Tobias is 299 from three. Maxey is 371. 371, it's like, okay, like we trust you to shoot the ball when you're open.
It's like an average NBA 3-point shooter.
And he attempts 3 a game, which is a healthy amount, And field goal percentage in total is .480. He has a higher field goal percentage than Embiid. So take it with you will. He's very efficient for a guy his size, and he shoots 87% from the free throw line. That's even better.
Yeah, I mean, in a dark spot, this is like our shining thing, our bright light.
Well, he's a guard who can actually do things that a guard's supposed to do. Like, he can score off the ball. On the ball. I mean, like, with the ball in his hand, he can create his own shot.
Yes.
No one else can do that besides Joel.
Yeah.
And even then, Joel gets double teamed, has to pass it out.
But, you would expect... I mean, how old is Tobias Harris now?
Let me click on his profile. I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but... it doesn't say here. Hold on. I'll Google it. Get to the Google machine. Tobias Harris.
At this point, you would expect Tobias Harris.
29.
Yeah,
he was born in 92.
That's what I thought. So he's 29. You would expect him to be playing his best basketball right now.
Yeah.
This
is the peak for most players.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It just hasn't been great. And you thought that the Doc Tobias reunion would make him just be the same guy that he was in LA, but he just has not been playing good basketball.
And I don't think he can have the spotlight on him in a sense that that's just not the player he ever was.
Yeah.
He was never that three who could really score to that efficient level.
He did have the trajectory that he was going to be averaging like 22 points a game,
Yeah.
Through his career, he was just up and up, like linearly just went up. I think it was like 12, 14, 18, and then he got traded to the Sixers, and you thought that he was going to be scoring 20 to 22 points a game.
Now he's at 19. But the problem with the 19 is it's really inefficient shooting.
Right. So you said
that's
he's
the problem.
shooting 299 from three.
And he's doing 5 attempts a game. See, but from 2-point, he's 50%. He's shooting 6 for 12. So why are we forcing the situation?
I don't know.
Right. That's the problem. He shouldn't be taking as many threes.
Sure. And how many of those shots are really like high efficiency shots, right? So like, how many are mid range shots that he's taking? Because
I can't tell from here, but that's something that's worth
knowing. Back
knowing.
in the day, when I would go to the games and Tobias Harris joined the team, it seemed like he would take a lot of those shots.
Mid range.
And he's not JJ Redick.
Yeah, he would set the pick and roll, and then he would settle for the jumper after the pick rather than not rolling, but attacking with the roller next to him.
And I like Tobias Harris, but I just think, like you said, he's wasting shots basically, and Joel tends to do that too. So
yeah, but Joel's got the green light. He's the best player on the team.
Exactly.
You're always gonna. That's always gonna happen. LeBron takes inerrant shots,
right?
But he's number one. Same with Kevin Durant, who, by the way, the Nets, man, they're playing that guy into the ground, but they're number one in the East.
He's gonna have no legs.
December
by the playoffs again.
Right? Yeah, it's December. A lot of things can change still.
Do you remember that Bucks the final game in that Bucks Nets series last year in the playoffs? And
came down to the last overtime game, and
had
Durant
no legs.
And you couldn't blame him because he literally did everything for that team.
Yeah.
But Kyrie's coming back, so you never know.
Is that official? Is that official that Kyrie is?
He's going to play in non-games, not in New York.
Okay.
So he'll play in
away games.
All away games.
Okay.
And he can't practice with the team in New York. I don't know what the rules are up there, but apparently he can't practice with them. Who knows?
New Nets facility in New Jersey.
Yeah, they're coming. They're coming back.
Yeah.
No, if they really wanted to do it, I would put one in like on the Pennsylvania Delaware Water Gap. Drive over from New York, like really make sure that it would be open, because I don't even know if you put it in Jersey, it would still be open. So
yeah, especially up north.
Yeah, we'll play it safe. Just put it in PA.
Delaware Water Gap.
The Brooklyn Nets practice outside the Delaware Water Gap at Washington Crossing, where Washington crossed the Delaware this Christmas.
We'll be doing post-workout ice baths in the Delaware Water Gap.
Remember when we were at camp my freshman year? This wasn't the Delaware Water Gap. This was the Susquehanna
River. Yeah.
The Susquehanna River. And Teddy was like, okay, everyone in the river. Like after a long run.
Like we were going to continue to do that for the whole season. We would just find a river and go do.
He's like, this is like an ice bath. Like everyone in the river. It's like how you do your post run. If we I think we just started throwing rocks at each other because we were idiots. Oh, those were the days. I remember that. That's my freshman. That was my freshman year when we first did it. Teddy, everyone in the water.
Phenomenal tradition that we only did once.
We literally only did it once. Oh my gosh. And then you get back in those crappy vans.
You miss those days. Don't even act like you don't. I know.
Yeah, this has the feeling of like a long run day. Like how many winter track long runs did we go out in like this overcast, gray weather? You're like,
I've
got like 17 today.
This is as standard as it gets. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we're running down Lancaster to Penn, and it's we're going around the river today for a 17. You're like, oh no, this is the worst run possible. Be like, it's a little warm out. You wouldn't know. Do I wear tights? Do I wear shorts? It's like,
better than Buddha.
Oh yeah. The long runs in track were much better than cross country for just that one reason alone.
Oh man.
But I will say the cross country long runs were good, Jim. You know why? Because everyone would have to be together. Sure. Like everyone had to do the course together, so that's what made it funny. Versus like in track, everyone went there.
Kind of just did their own thing.
They did their own thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway,
what do you got for me?
That was it. Those are my thoughts.
Where are we going? Joe's or NFL?
Let's talk Joe's. I'm kind of in the. We'll finish with NFL. So let's talk Joe's. For those who don't know, St. Joe's is on a little bit of a win streak. We beat Penn, we beat Temple, I was at the game, Jim. Hagen was pretty much full. We were screaming. There's a good amount of Temple fans, which is always healthy. Like I'm okay with rival fans being in the stands to some degree because it just it adds to the atmosphere. Like I like having the rival fans in there a little bit, not too much, but I like them being spaced around. It's fun to see. And St. Joe's outplayed a Temple team that everyone thought was better than them. And Jordan Hall is the real deal. He was A-10 Player of the Week, averaged like 30 points in the games. And, he's taken over when Taylor Funk, our number one scoring option, has kind of fallen asleep a little bit. Not his fault. I don't harp on him for falling asleep in that regard. But, it has happened. And Jordan Hall is... real deal. He's now an NBA prospect in my eyes, and everyone in the A10 Twitter sphere has come to recognize the fact that Jordan Hall is that good. Because, Penn's not the best opponent, but he went and did it against Temple, and that alone caught enough attention. So, what were your thoughts? How did you feel after seeing St. Joe's finally take down Temple after 4 years, pretty much?
So, I'd love to get into the Temple stuff, but last time I was on the show, it was before the Villanova game.
You have some Villanova thoughts?
So
okay.
I just want to touch on that real quick.
Sure.
We went into that, and I said that, I thought that St. Joe's would make it a 10-point game. St. Joe's gets wiped out by 29 points, right? And we get texting. I think we got a little heated in the text messages after the Nova game. We did,
because I was heated after that game.
I thought St. Joe's should have played better. I thought that it was a bad game for them. And then especially they proved my point. And this is why I want to go back. I think that they proved my point the next two games. Because we go and we beat Penn. Just like I said before that Villanova game, that we could beat Penn. And I thought that we would beat Temple. And Penn had a close game with Villanova, if I recall.
Closer than what we had.
So
they were 15 points down, but that's better than the 30 we were down by.
And I know it never, is even like that. I know it's never like, oh, if you beat Villanova, then you're better than Penn. It doesn't. It's matchups matter. But I just thought that we would beat Penn, and I thought that because we would beat Penn, we'd beat Temple, that we would be able to close that gap to Villanova more than we ever have. And I know that you said before, like the average loss to Villanova has been like 20 points or 20.
They wake up for our games. They always do.
So maybe Villanova did, push down the gas pedal a little bit against us, but
more so than they did against LaSalle.
But so my thoughts on the Temple game are this: like, okay, St. Joe's is now 6-4. I think that they're starting to exceed my expectations for this year, rather than be kind of where we thought they would be.
Interesting.
I think your prediction going into this year was 7-10 in the conference.
7-10, 500 record.
Okay, I think.
Here we go.
I think that this is really turning out to be
top 5. You think they're top 5?
I think better than 7. You know what? I think way better than 10. But I think that the band changes now. So like 5 to 8 rather than 7 to 10.
They have proven that they're 100% better than the bottom 4. Yes. They are like now it's all about, as you just said, beating the Masons, the UMasses, the Rhode Islands and
Right.
stealing games against Davidson's and those programs, St. Louis. And Bonaventure had a terrible game yesterday against Virginia Tech. They got walloped. And this was a team that was ranked at one point.
I'll tell you, all sports, not just college basketball, but NBA, NFL. It seems like this is a year where anybody can win against anyone, and that's what I love, and that's what I think that St. Joe's is taking advantage of this whole year, and that's why I think when we play Bradley later today, it's another shot.
And Bradley's favored.
Bradley they were in the tournament last year, I believe, right? And I don't know how high up they would be ranked on the power.
I'm gonna I'm gonna look them up on
KenPom. KenPom, yeah.
Okay.
But I
keep
think
talking.
that I just they have a losing record. They're 4-6. I don't know what their opponents have been like, but they're probably going to be desperate against us for a home game. And I just think that they're not going to be ready for Jordan Hall or Ajike Obina, dude.
Bradley's 180 on KenPom. We're 187.
Okay.
And we beat Temple, which was like 100.
Okay, so
and Georgetown, which was 100. So
it's going to be a very good game today.
Yeah. And the good thing about the Georgetown win was it was a road win, West Coast. Now, there was no Georgetown fans in the stand, but it was a road win. And against Villanova, we played in the most hostile environment possible.
Sure.
And we kept it close for one half.
Well, that was my thing.
Against a really good team. Even if Villanova got embarrassed last night by Creighton, conference play is always going to be different.
Right.
For Villanova. They always lose games in the Big East.
Yeah,
yep,
sure.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, that was my thing. If you go back to December 2nd, I was talking about the Georgetown game that we beat Patrick Ewing. They were in the tournament last year. St. Joe's is beating teams consistently that were in the tournament last year.
Yep.
So it's just proving to me every step of the way. Maybe we lose a game against LaSalle down the road or whatever, but every step of the way so far this season, the team has been gaining momentum and gaining momentum and gaining momentum, and you want that. You want to finish your regular season going into the A-10 tournament with that sort of fire. And if you do that, we've both seen it as students at St. Joe's. If you go in with that sort of momentum, you can win the A-10 tournament.
Yep.
And you can go into the NCAA and you have a shot.
The great thing about St. Joe's is, and you and I have said this, they have the personnel. They've got guys who can score, who can make better plays, and who make their teammates better. But most importantly, they are of a higher caliber. Taylor Funk played all his games last year, and he was on the all A-10 team, third team. And everyone was ignoring St. Joe's and just calling it junk minutes. But in reality, he was literally scoring for the team every night while defenders were draped all over him. And he has shown that if you leave him open, he's going to score because he's so used to scoring with guys all over him.
Right.
So, and yeah, he's had some down days, but that's okay. Like, he also had an 8 for 10 shooting night against Georgetown. Like, sometimes shooters go cold. The great thing about Taylor is he's still when I'm at those games, I see it in the timeouts. He's the leader of the team. He's making defensive plays when he has to, and his assists are pretty good. He finds Obina a lot in the post. So
one of the things about Taylor that I love, and I think you're kind of hinting at it here, he is always tenacious. He always has the fire. Like, you can see him getting amped up. If he has a foul called against him that he thinks is a BS call, he's slamming towels down on the chair. Like, he's that sort of intense guy. And I think whether he's providing offensive value or not, his teammates will thrive off of that. Teammates love that. They need a crazy psycho on the side or some, like, just on the court with you that just amps you up. So I think that Taylor Funk is that guy, and I agree with you. He is an all A-10 caliber player because of these things, because of the heart, the passion, and also the fact that when he's a hot shooter, he's a hot shooter. So, like,
he's the best shooter in the conference.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, you've seen times where
there's no one in the conference that shoots
it's like
him, and you're like, oh, that's going in.
It's like a magnetized ball to the rim. It's amazing,
Yeah, when it's
or to the hoop.
It was like when they were playing Georgetown, there's no way he's missing. Like, he just was completely switched on. And he went on a cold spell, but he's come back, and it's fine. He shot 2 for 6 against Temple. That's fine. Like, that's not overdoing it. The team was up by 20. You know how good it felt when we were up by 20? Everyone's cheering. They know the team's just, like, manhandling Temple. And everyone's like, oh, Khalif Battle's injured. And so if he was playing, Temple would win. I don't know if that's the case. because Khalif Battle isn't worth 20 points in my mind.
People like to say, like, oh, whatever this person's been averaging, like, you just add those points. But you forget, you put another person in there. People are chaotic. You know, we have different reactions to different things in the games. It's not going to be standard. So, like, you know, maybe that cross-court pass gets knocked by a hand, and that changes the direction of the game and the momentum and how the points go. Like, it's not all just a linear, like,
yeah. Oh, here's 15 points.
Yep, that's it. Close game now.
This isn't NBA 2.
Nights,
this isn't NBA 2K where it's like this player averages 18 points. If we add him to the roster, the team will be better.
Yeah.
Even though Khalif Battle's a really good player. Do you know there's a study, Jim, where if you put like rats or people on a boat, like on a flotilla, that's unbalanced, and you don't tell them about it, they will unconsciously walk around and keep it balanced.
No way.
Because they can feel it's going, they'll just go the other, they won't freak out. They'll unconsciously just keep it balanced and not like, but if you tell everyone what's going to happen, from that balance perspective, they all run to one side, then they run to the other side because they're all conscious about like the issue. And so they're trying to like balance it out. So they're all together.
Oh, wow.
And it's almost sometimes better to just be ignorant to it, because then you'll just adjust your own little personal route. But you'll know, like, don't step over here because, why are we leaning this way? So, I'll just go over here, and it balances out. Like, it just naturally, like, there's a stasis almost.
Wow. Yeah, well, yeah, that makes sense. Biology is always talking about homeostasis, so that, you know, the world is always sort of...
Right, but if you become aware of it and you try to control it, it swings out of control.
Chaos. Wow.
Kind of like if we try to control, I don't know, natural causes or anything like that, rather than just being natural about it. But that's for a different show.
Yeah, sure. Check out our new podcast.
I will say this, but that kind of gets back to the original point of like the team kind of has like this natural stasis. Mm-hmm. And I do agree, if you take a player out like Khalif Battle, they're probably not going to play as well. Like, they had centers shooting threes. Like, I understand that's not going to happen if you have your better guard on the court,
right?
But that still doesn't mean you're going to make up 20 points, right? There's kind of like the key to all of that. Like, Temple cannot make a shot. Well, I think we've messed their brains up. Like, now they're going multiple games now where they just can't make baskets, and they're losing games like crazy.
Yeah. So I think back to that UMass game, you know, the final shot to win the game and everything, and I'm just like, wow, if we lost that game, we would not be 6-4 right now. I'm just thinking about like this
UMass.
Eastern Shore.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm just thinking back to that game. If we lost that game, what would happen? Like, where we would be? I think we'd probably be like 3-7. I really don't think that.
Yeah, I agree. That was, you know, what was nice about that was we won that game barely, but then we came out against Mount St. Mary's and took care of business, and everyone's like, okay, we're fine. Like, this team, we know what it looks like when it works. But then we lose the 2 games against Drexel and Monmouth.
And I think,
but then I think the Georgetown game is the turning point of the season, right? We're 2-2. What kind of team are we?
Yeah.
We come out and we win against Georgetown. The USC game, it's whatever. It's you hope that you keep it close, but you know that it's.
I mean, you went to the Peyton Wooden, right?
Yeah.
And we were the only team that wasn't in the tournament last year.
Right. So you kind of knew coming in, it's like we're the easy win,
yeah.
We're the bye win. But we're going to steal a win.
Not for Georgetown.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the Villanova game happens, whatever. It's the Georgetown, Penn, Temple wins. They're just like, we didn't win those games last year.
Yeah.
Those are quality wins with the roster, definitely. Not with, Ryan Daly has to come and save the day. Mm-hmm. I think that's really what the feeling is.
Yeah. Do you have an update on Jack Forrest for me? Because
I don't have a particular update, but I will say this. Pete, the host of the Hawk Talk SJU podcast, big Jack Forrest fan, literally just talks about Jack Forrest, and
I feel like I haven't seen him in the stat sheet much.
No, and he's cold from 3.
Yeah,
but he attacks the rim better than a lot of players on the team.
Okay,
so he puts himself in the right position, and he played some good defense against Temple. Like, he was used quite frequently against Temple.
Okay,
and so you could he gets more minutes than Casper now.
Oh wow.
So
okay, good.
Casper has a lot of learning to do.
Sure.
Still, so
yeah,
I understand why Billy put him in the starting lineup, but with Cam Brown in the starting lineup, we're just a better team. Mm-hmm. Like, that's been the real change in pace. Is Cam Brown is just he's so energetic.
That's
and
great.
He's so great.
Yeah.
He's Billy's like first real recruit. He's been with Lang ever since. So always loved Cam. He's OG. He was like the one shining light we had 2 years ago when we were like terrible.
Yeah. We are putting it together though, and that's what I'm really happy about.
Obina's the best out of all of them, and the fact that like, man, this guy transferred in, and he just showed like being a center in the SEC makes you just like a different player. Like he has way more post moves than people thought he had.
Yeah, he is.
He makes the right play every
tremendously
time.
Athletic,
Yeah.
from what I've seen. Yeah.
And just having someone down there, it's like, oh, we're gonna lob this up for a dunk. Like, oh, there's no play. Like, here's a lob dunk. Like,
Amazing,
and it goes
yeah.
in every time.
So my last question on Joe's, I know
Sure.
we've been stretching this, but this Drexel team, right? So Drexel has been playing pretty good.
Yep.
Them making the tournament, that helps us out, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to get an at-large bid unless, I mean, if the Drexel loss looks okay, so what I'll say is this. Our losses are really good.
The Monmouth loss bothers me. That's the only one that really...
But Monmouth is better than Drexel.
Are they
They're
really?
climbing up.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, they're better. They're a lot better.
Okay.
They could win their conference. I mean, there's a
Drexel will win their conference.
I don't know. James Madison's good.
You really think so?
It'll be a battle. It's going to be good, though.
Anytime to try and repeat is hard.
Yeah. But Drexel has a team that can do it.
Yeah.
It's just you're going to have to beat JMU, and that's going to be tough.
Drexel pretty much brought back their whole team.
I know, yeah. And I'll say this real quick. There's a scenario where we lose to the MAC champion, the Colonial champion, the Big East champion, and the Pac-12 champion.
So,
Those are good losses.
Yeah.
Our problem is, do we have a signature win? No, we don't have a signature win. Our best win is Georgetown, Temple,
Bradley.
and Bradley. Those
If we win today.
Those are not wins that get you... Like, for example, Dayton, which has like these crazy signature wins against Kansas and Virginia Tech. Like, Dayton's got a lot of big wins outside. If they had our losses, people would be saying, oh yeah, Dayton's a tournament team. Like, they've only lost to the best of the best for a lot of these programs, and maybe one loss would hurt them, but really their other two, like our two major losses are against two top 10 teams. So
all we have is Bradley and Holy Cross.
Yeah, Holy Cross is a bye game.
And then everything is just...
conference play.
Conference play. Okay. Interesting. I think we did the best, as long as everything holds for these next two games, I think we did the best that we could do with this team.
I mean, think about last year.
Yeah.
It's just better.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so much. We're coming in with a real team in the sense that fans are in the stadium, students are going, and they're like, hey, we have a chance to win every night.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for. And we have exciting players.
This is true.
And that's the other thing. Like, if I'm a student, I'm going to the game, it's because I want to see my guys dunk, or I want to see them shoot like crazy threes. Like, I don't want to see like the stagnant offense.
Right.
Like, I want to see greatness.
It's so sad as a student. And this happened for me too, but like
when they're not good and you're there.
Well, no, when you have like a great player like Jordan Hall.
Yeah.
Or like for me, it was like Langston Galloway.
Yep.
For both of us, it was DeAndre Bembry.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just gone the next year. And you guys are like pick it back up.
Yep.
And try and figure out who the next like big guy is going to be.
You're like searching around, who is it?
You need, like, a school like St. Joe's needs one standout player basically that is going to go into the NBA draft. You need something like that.
Yeah, for every graduating class should see one in their lifetime.
Yes.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to have Langston Galloway, but I had DeAndre Bembry for 2 years technically, and it was great to watch. And then like Sean Sean McPherson and all them, like they're great. They had Charlie Brown, and Charlie Brown is an NBA player.
Yeah.
And he had nights where he'd score 30 points, and he was this wiry small forward. Now, was the team as good? No, but he was still an exciting player to watch. And they had Lamar Kimball, so like they had decent players on the team. Like, and I think the other thing I know we're going a little long, but I'll say this one last thing. Half the battle is having the players really encourage their fellow students to come out.
Sure.
I think that makes all the difference. If Charlie Brown's like, hey, come to the game, to like all the people on campus and is friendly with everyone, they will come to the game. They will support him. That makes all the difference.
I feel like the Not
like
that
Taylor would do that, I think.
I feel like not that players are standoffish, but they're just like the I don't know, the aura around them is typically people will stay away from them.
Yeah.
And
they have like a force field around them a little bit.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, definitely. And then you don't really like interact with them. You might have class with them, but you're not going to talk to them about basketball for the most part. You might say a couple things, but you're not going to be like, he's not going to be telling you to come to the game.
Right,
point,
but that makes the difference.
I think it would make a huge difference if that boundary is broken.
Yeah,
you know?
And I'm not saying like...
They're people too, you know?
Yeah.
They're not NBA superstars. They're just...
Right, it's not like we're at
players.
Kansas and like, oh, he's going to the draft next year. Like, we're still a school. Like, there needs to be some camaraderie, some fraternity between the students, like, as a whole. So,
definitely, yeah.
Hey, you don't want to play in an empty gym. So, do it. Let's go to Eagles real quick. Close it out the show.
Yeah.
Are you worried about moving it to Tuesday? I get it. It's unfair for the fans.
So,
but it seems like we just don't have a choice. So, there's something we can do.
The commissioner, in the summer says, we're going to play by these rules. Mm-hmm. And if you can field a team, you're going to play.
Right.
We're not going to be postponing games anymore. That was last year. Last year's over. No more postponing games. Now we have a postponed game. So my thing is the messaging needs to be clear and it needs to be strict. You don't get to just say, we're not going to postpone games, and then you postpone games because you realize the product is going to be bad on the field. So, the commissioner's under fire. He should be. Like he always is, because he's just.
But they never get rid of him.
He's such a weasel. He has no spine, and he can't. He just can't enforce the rules that he said he was going to enforce. Mm-hmm. So that's my biggest issue with this whole thing. Second, I want to see a good game. I love division games. I think that they're the most fun games in the entire season, especially when they line up the schedule so that the division games are the last 3 or 4 games of the season. It's supposed to be like a crazy, holding on to your seat, hoping that your team makes the playoffs type of feel.
Right.
So I'm torn because I want a really good game to watch, but I also, I think that the commissioner is spineless and the game should have just been held.
Sounds about right.
Because that's just how it is. Everybody plays by the rules that if you're stricken by a COVID outbreak, you have to,
as long as the rules are evenly enforced, as we've seen, I think they are actually evenly enforced in the sense that we've got games all over the place right now. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, but this is my point that before the season started, that there would be no postponements.
Oh, yes. Okay, I get what you're saying. But I guess my counter would be, but now everyone's getting their games moved around. So it's like, yes, they're not consistent in that regard, but it's still being evenly applied in the sense that now everyone's having a game being pushed around.
Yeah, my point is...
It's not like one team is like, you got to field a team, and then the other one's like, okay, we're going to wait for you. Right. That's like my point, I guess.
My thing is, everybody should just play their standard game.
Right.
If they lose players, if that's how the rules were set up and then previously and enforced.
Here's the thing: they don't want to forfeit the games. That's the real reason.
And they don't want to lose money. Like the NFL doesn't want to lose money.
Yeah.
I know. I understand, but it's like, don't tell me one set of rules and apply it different when the time comes.
Just tell us, okay, we're going to push games around because we know we can't lose that revenue from a nightly game basis.
Right. Or just don't have those rules like that to begin with that you're going to force.
Or just play the game.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like they'll let you play with the flu, but they won't let you play with COVID. I don't get the difference.
I think that there needs to be consistent messaging. That's the main thing.
Right. Or they talk about player health, but then they'll let them target each other with helmets. So like that's the other thing. It's like, we really care about. We can't play with when you have this disease, but we're gonna let you get a concussion and have brain hemorrhage.
Right.
And not do anything about that every week.
Like that Parham. Did you see that?
That's why I bring that up. Yeah. It's like they're talking about player safety, taking it real serious for these measures, but they'll still let you crack each other in the skull at unreal targeting levels.
Yeah. So my main concern moving forward, just with this Tuesday game, is what happens if the Eagles have an outbreak over the next couple of days. And the Eagles apparently have been really, really strict on their regulations of getting tested and all that. But
yeah,
what happens now? What if we lose all our running backs? Because the running backs all spend time together. One of them gets COVID and they all get it.
I don't know.
Well, what happens to our corners?
Yeah.
Or defensive backs?
It's something that they're just gonna have to play through.
So now the Eagles are gonna get screwed while all of Washington's team gets healthy. In this instance, in this hypothetical situation, Eagles get an outbreak. Washington recovers, gets their full team back. Now Eagles are, down half their team or 10 people.
Yeah.
And then no matter, they're not going to move the game from Tuesday. Tuesday's happening.
So you're trying to portray the fact that we will get the bad end of the deal because they're giving Washington a more favorable role.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, I can't say that's going to happen until it happens.
Sure.
That's like my mentality.
And I'm not afraid of Washington either. I think that they're a bum team.
But it would definitely hurt us if that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, I think now we're going to prediction time because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so me and Jim are pretty close. Very close. And I know the lines have changed a little. I think the lines have changed. As we said, we saw 7.
Sure.
But we're going to keep it at 5 because they postponed the game.
Okay.
Because I'm going to assume everyone Washington can possibly field is going to be on.
How do you feel about if there's a drastic change in the odds?
We will cancel the odds.
Okay.
We will pay back your slips. So we've got that covered. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Good.
Or we'll adjust. So if there's a major line shift we hear about, major, 10 points.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And for the total too.
Okay.
Then we'll if it swings from Philly 5 to Washington 5, then we're gonna reevaluate.
We'll throw the tweet out.
Yeah. So back to our records. I have 13. I'm 13-11 on the season. Pretty okay. I mean, if you bet with me, please disclaimer. Please do not. I'm not an expert. I would have you up 2 games. You'd be in the black. Jimmy is 500.
Push.
So he's a push, which is still fine. I mean,
not bad. I mean,
you're having fun. You're watching the games. Sometimes they're hitting, sometimes they're not. But it's a ride. You're not, and you know what? It's free of charge because it's 500. Okay. So the spread that we have right now before any shift in the Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe it's a Christmas Eve game now. For Washington and Philadelphia, we've got Philadelphia as the favorites, -5. This is in Philadelphia. And we play Washington this week. Would we play them next week, or next week's the Giants and then it's Washington again, and then it's the Cowboys?
Yep.
Got it.
That's it.
And the Cowboys helped us out by beating Washington.
Yep.
This is for wild card talk. We win this game, we're in wild card conversation.
Yeah, it felt horrible rooting for Dallas against Washington, but
it's division games. You're going to root for whatever is because you don't care. Either way, you don't like either team winning, so you're just going to pick the most advantageous result for the Eagles. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So Eagles are -5, and then the total's 44, which is low.
It is
for
low.
A division game.
Well, that because if Washington doesn't have half their team, then they're not going to.
They're not going to score, and it's going to be a 28-10 game or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim. I picked the games last time first, I believe.
Yeah.
You can go.
So, with 5 points, I think the Eagles cover that
as favorites.
And I'm going to go with the under. I just like we just said. I think that it's going to be a 28-10. I don't think that Washington's going to be able to score. If they're playing with the quarterback that they have, who they just signed because they had everybody out, I don't know what the situation holds.
Right,
so,
no Heineke is what you're saying.
There's no Heineke. There wasn't even a third string. They had to sign somebody off the streets to play.
Like Kurt Warner, bagging groceries coming out to the league.
That new movie coming out is going to be awesome. Kurt Warner movie.
There's a Kurt Warner movie coming out?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. I'll have to watch that.
We got to watch the trailer at post show.
I didn't know that. Kurt Warner's the sickest story in the NFL.
So I'm gonna take Eagles -5 and the under.
Jim, you're gonna hate me. I'm going with you. Here's the thing, Jim. This is one of those ones that's too obvious.
Yeah.
The team's injured. They're not going to be playing. You just said they're taking a third-string quarterback. You think I'm going to take the over? They're not going to throw touchdowns. They're going to run the ball a lot, and they're just going to take clock off because that's what they did against Tampa Bay. And then, of course, I'm going to pick the Eagles to win. They're at home.
So the thing with Tuesday is like, we just don't know who's lining up yet.
Yeah.
We're only 3 days
I have a
away.
worry this
It's
might
like,
be a scratched line. We might be going to the book later and removing these bets.
Because if Heineke,
If Heineke comes back, I'm taking the Washington at 5.
the whole odds will change.
Yeah.
Everything will change. But I think right now, if we're both going, Eagles -5 in the under, can't really go wrong. The only way for me to catch you is on a week that you go first. And I have to pick something different than you.
You'll probably honestly catch me next week when we pick the Giants game, because I never picked the Giants games correct.
Yeah. That's just
Ever.
a tough game.
Going back to last year, I always overestimate the Giants' ability.
And I think I always underestimate the Giants' ability. I always think that they're junk.
And they were junk last game.
Yeah.
No, they weren't. They won.
Yeah, but they only scored 13 points. It was like
True. It was just like a disaster.
Yeah.
I remember last year I was making a big Giants going to the playoff push. And that just blew up in my face.
I wasn't wrong that the Giants were junk. I was wrong that the Eagles were good.
We all suffer from it. Okay, Jim, I think that does it. We got our predictions in. Is there anything else?
There's one last thing.
Sure.
So since the last show, U Sciences has won 2 games. They won 2 games in a row.
We got the update.
So they're now 2-6. But they just lost to Goldie Beacom.
I don't know who that is. Who's Goldie Beacom?
I think they're from Delaware.
What a name.
Yeah, Goldie Beacom College.
No doctoral degrees. Not a university.
No, yeah.
That's unfortunate for Goldie Beacom. Well, good for you, Sciences. Glad to hear that our AA Development League is winning games for St. Joe's basketball.
Is that going to become a feeder program?
I think it should be our feeder program. Also, I want to add one other thing. I watched that Camden game last night. Woo, Camden's good. They were on ESPN.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're 6th best in the country.
The Scarlet Raptors?
They're the Panthers.
Oh, Camden. Oh, high school.
High school.
Oh,
What are you talking about?
I thought you were talking about the Rutgers Camden.
No. I'm talking about the Camden Panthers.
Oh my
6th
God.
best team in the country.
Really?
The Wagner kid can ball out. He's apparently a Temple. He has an offer from Temple, but he's gonna get an offer from big schools.
Yeah, I mean they've been talking about him for 2 years now.
He's good.
Yeah.
And the Rashid Fleming kid who's going to St. Joe's rides the bench for them, but they're 6th best in the country, so it's kind of hard to find minutes on a team where everyone's going somewhere.
That new high school is amazing too. I don't know if you've seen it.
Did Camden build a new building?
Oh, it's amazing. It's a great.
Because I remember the old one. It was not nice.
It's a great high school. It's a really.
Where'd
really
they put
nice
it?
school.
Next to the old one?
Um,
Because I remember I used to go to track meets there, so I know where the old one was.
I think it is. I think it's where the old one was.
Really, they built a new building.
Yeah.
Good for them.
It's on Baird Avenue.
I mean, they closed Woodrow Wilson High School.
It's closed now?
I thought they closed it.
Oh, no. Really?
Well,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know that you would rather go to Camden than Woodrow Wilson.
Sure.
Like, it's just a nicer school, I've heard. Like, even when the old school was built, it's just like a nicer facility than the Woodrow Wilson High School is like from the 20s.
Camden Catholic doesn't have a track.
Correct.
So the kids go to Woodrow Wilson to do the track workouts sometimes.
They don't go to the Cinder Track?
They also do the Cinder Track.
There's a Cinder Track in the Cooper River that...
Yeah.
Ooh.
We were at the Cinder Track for cross country, but
that makes
sometimes
sense.
go to Woodrow Wilson for.
I like the Cinder Track for cross country idea. It kind of like simulates that less traction when you're running.
Yeah, I mean, think about all those courses that we run on that have cinder.
Yeah,
I think it's.
When we would run by that, I would just think about like how Glavin would talk about like how St. Joe's used to have a cinder track. It's like,
that's what I do too. Yeah.
Oh, I knew a guy who ran 45 on cinders. It's like, okay, sure he did. Okay, Jim, now I'm wrapping. I'm closing up the show. Thanks for coming to the show today, Jim. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
And let's get a prediction for St. Joe's. Do they win tonight?
Yes, by 5.
Ooh, I like it. Well, that's been it for Tony's Takes. I will also pick the Hawks. I'll never pick against them. I think they're going to win every game. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Tony's Takes. If you like what you heard, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes. Make sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts. Just search Tony Takes and you'll see the beautiful logo that you see here on YouTube. And if you were on here on YouTube for the first time, please make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment. All comments get read on the show. Well, for me and Jim, this has been Tony's Takes. I really appreciate everyone spending their Saturday with us. We look forward to seeing you on next week's episode when we do our Christmas special. Thanks, and see you next week. This has been Tony's Takes.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.